Trading on the Forex with skillful hands, you can turn your 100 into 1000 in just 2 or 3 trades. I will show you how my last public deposit acceleration took place, and I will analyze the strategy I used. By the way, each of you can copy trades manually or automatically, so follow the link from the description and we'll get started. So the first trade, the most important thing is that we have 100 in our account, so we need to make this trade with maximum risk and we need to make it work out anyway. I found the station like this one. I trade on the currency pair very often, so I understand in general the characteristic of this movement. Here we have an almost perfect uptrend. It is perfect because the concept of smart money implies a constant update of maximums and a constant increase of minimums. That is, after each of minimums, we have a new maximum, and all these minimums are confirmed. It means that a confirmed minimum differs from an unconfirmed minimum, in that after we have formed a minimum, the next upward movement must necessarily update our boss, the top in fact. If the boss is not updates, and for example the chart moves like this one here, as we see the maximum is not updated, then this minimum is not confirmed. So here the logic of the structure should be preserved. The new minimum have formed, it is already confirmed, and the new minimum should also be confirmed. Here we see a beautiful triangle figure, or we can say a perfect triangle. Let's draw it. Here is its upper boundary, here is its lower boundary, so we must have the exit from the triangle. I certainly expect that the movement will continue upwards, so in order for it to continue unhindered, we must update all our minimums and remove the traders stops, because there are really a lot of them accumulated here. I'm sure of it. So let's place a long position here. Our stop will be behind this line, behind this area, from which we have essentially started the wave that updated the previous boss. So put a stop behind this area. By the way, this area is not drawn by myself, but by an automatic indicator from LuxAlgo smart money concept. So add it to the indicator session and it will really simplify your trading. But the goal is obviously, as I said, to update the previous maximum in order for the movement to maintain its original structure. Let's take a look at how this movement developed. As we can see, there was even a retest of the broken triangle. And then everything happened very quickly. As I said earlier, we've updated this horizontal level, removed trade stops, and then formed a new wave of growth. So this trade is this first trade, which brought us 170 of profit. Let's look again. Here is the first trade, 170 of profit. So our balance is already 270 and we can work with it more or less. Now we are going to consider a trade that is very similar to the one recently made by a robot in our Telegram channel. By the way, this trade could be absolutely free copied by you and of course automatically. So if you are interested, I will add a link to the robot and to all the information about my projects in the description. The trades are very similar, but the only exception is that this trade, which I will show you now, unfortunately it was closed at the stop loss without a loss. So it turned out to be a little bit short of the take, but the trade itself it's very interesting and I will demonstrate it to you now. We have the British pound to the Japanese yen currency pair. What is happening here? On the 1 hour senior time frame, we have a downtrend and here formed a level above which we accumulate liquidity. So I realized that this liquidity has not been withdrawn for a long time. The stock market, at least changing its direction from downtrend to uptrend, will be obligated to simply update this maximum. Now let's go back to my working time frame. It is M15 and let's take a closer look at the situation. What do we have going on here? We have a trend line here. Let's draw it. This trend line is also in fact a trigger for the upward movement because the chart also forms an additional liquidity pushing away from this trend line. Traders put stops behind the maximums. It was here, let's say here, and accordingly all these stops should be taken out. Here, as we can see, we have a breakdown of this trend line. Therefore, I take the second trade according to the stock market. We open the loan here in this place. Of course, we put the stop behind the zone from which this upward movement began. Well, because of the fact that the goal was not only the update the previous maximum, but in principle all the maximums that we had here, the trade went a little bit out of plan. Because I expected that here we will have a good upward movement. It happened, of course, but let's see, we were just a little bit short of the take. And the only thing I was able to do here was the move to trade to break even. So let's see again. This trade closed at the stop. We earned absolutely nothing by it. Yes, it is a little bit offensive, but the situation itself is very interesting. By the way, about the trade I told you about, the robot closed it in plus because of the trailing stop, because the trade was very similar to this one. We had a pullback to the entry point, but because of the trailing stop of 200 pips, we are steadily taking profit from the stock market thanks to the robot. And this function this situation could help us to earn very well. And let's finally consider the third trade on which I managed to earn the most profit, because due to the profitable first trade, I managed to increase the risk 3 times more, and this trade brought me 800. Let's consider it. Here is also quite a classic situation. It can be seen on any chart by any of you, no matter how much experience you have in trading. Let's look at the development of this situation. As we can see, here we have the breakdown of our resistance level, which we have recently considered. And here we have a hint of triangle formation. I waited for the triangle to actually be formed, and thus we see at least a trend line here. Let's see to the end what we have going on here. Basically, here is the beginning of getting out of the triangle. Of course, we have a triangle with not a flat bottom, but it looks more like a wedge. Plus we have a divergence forming here. Yes, a small divergence, but we have it. Because here we have a minimum updated of the chart, but this minimum is not updated on the RSI. Therefore, somewhere here we take a long position. We can look at an additional imbalance zone. We put a stop behind the minimum, or behind the zone from which the growth started, or behind the nearest imbalance. And the take was the update of the last maximum, which was on this zone. Plus this blue zone is a large imbalance zone, which we also need to cover. That's the maximum I'm talking about. Therefore, the trade on the retest of the broken level, plus the exit from the wedge turns out to be this situation. Yes, of course, not immediately, but somewhere about 12 hours I had a trade. And recently it has closed, so I was happy to record a video from you to show that to earn from 100 more than 1000. It's quite real. But for this, my friend, you need to take a lot of risks, because in fact you enter every trade without the right to make a mistake. I hope this analysis of traders was useful for you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel at the link from the description. Thank you for watching this video. Bye everyone.